The Big Short is written and directed by Adam McKay, and it stars Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Christian Bale, and a little bit of Brad Pitt as well. The story is about the financial build-up to the actual crash of the housing market in 2007 and 2008, and these men who were able to pinpoint exactly what was going to happen, or very close to what was going to happen, before it actually did. Unfortunately, it was too late to warn people of an opportunity to make a financial gain based off of their foresight and the lack of foresight by the banks and the general public. The Big Short crosses the last movie off of my Oscar list that I've been meaning to see. I've seen all of the Best Picture winners now, or the Best Picture nominees, with this being the last one. So I was really excited to see this because it has been receiving a lot of critical acclaim. Christian Bale's nominated for Best Actor, it's nominated for Best Screenplay. There's a lot of different things at work here. So we're really looking forward to this. This is also interesting to me because following Spotlight, this is yet another example of a form of a biographical true story, and to see what kind of manner this was going to handle it in. Spotlight was very, very careful, very conservative in how it handled it, and I didn't know what they were going to do with Big Short. And it's interesting because Adam McKay has a background in comedy. He directed Anchorman. I mean, this is not a traditional drama director, and he does infuse a lot of humor into this movie, especially in the first act, that it does keep it kind of lighthearted. It does downplay the seriousness of the actual events of the movie. And that does help in some ways because this is a lot of heavy jargon. There's a lot of not political, but economic jargon that's used in this movie from Bale, from Carell, from Pitt, when he's in, from Gosling. This is very heavy on that. And there's a lot of cutaways actually throughout the movie where they try to dumb it down as much as they can to get the general audience to understand. And it does help. But there's still a lot of stuff that even if you're bright, it's hard to keep up with because they'll give you a quick definition. They'll give you a way to understand what they're talking about. And then from that point on, they just assume, okay, you remember, now let's go. And that builds and builds and builds. And sometimes this can be a little hard to follow. This is a very well acted movie, though, which is a nice thing, especially by Steve Carell and Christian Bale. They are both very, very good. For Bale, I understand why he got nominated for a supporting actor role. He's very good in this. He plays this quirky, eccentric, egotistical, but maybe just very confident guy, and he does it very well. But there is a humanity to him. Steve Carell is very angry. His character is all sorts of fired up all the time. But again, there's a bit of humanity there that keeps the character grounded, that makes you feel for them a little bit in their individual predicaments. Ryan Gosling, he's fine. He didn't really do anything special to stand out in this movie. It's not that he did anything bad. His character is just very, very kind of flat and on the level. He's funny when he's supposed to be, otherwise he's just what he is supposed to be. Wittrock actually has a surprisingly large role in this, and he does really well with it, as does John Magaro. They both have a little bit of a back and forth of a storyline together that works really well. They have good chemistry with one another, and they both perform well for their characters. Brad Pitt really doesn't do a lot in this movie. He is in it, and when he's in it, he's fine. He has a very one-note character. He isn't in it as much as I thought he would be, and his character doesn't do as much as you might think he would, but he's fine in it. Where this movie really excels is just, again, it excels on an intellectual level of really explaining all of this that's going on. It does go in a little too deep at points, but it still does a very good job, as good of a job as it can at least, of explaining this and getting you to understand what's going on. And it's really actually kind of a depressing movie in a lot of ways when you understand the entire scope of what's going on, how this affected the general public, and the repercussions or lack thereof of this incident. Again, it's not a spoiler, but if you want to Google what happened, you can find it out online. But it's really tragic what happened and the lack of after effect for most of the people that were responsible for this. And they really do hammer that away to make you feel and understand, look, this happened and this was swept under the rug for a lot of people except for those it affected, and this is why. Is everything entirely true? Maybe not. I'm sure, it's based on a true story. There's a little bit here and there. There's actually a moment that they even tell you in the movie, this didn't happen, but we're doing this because it's more fun for the movie. And those cutaways do draw into one of my issues with the movie, is that it does tonally shift quite a bit. In the first half, it seems like they are clearly trying to make this funny, engaging, and inviting. And then at the end, in the second half, it smacks you like, okay, now that you're having fun, this is what actually happened. And that shift, it actually does work quite effectively because it does kind of hit you right in the face. Like, wow, okay, now we're being serious. But it does feel a little bit off. And some of the characters actually really don't have that much significance to the story, even though I enjoyed their performances. They all are telling the same story, at least following the same events, but they don't really interact with one another very much, or at all for some of them. It's just about, here's a few different perspectives on this same incident and these people that had something to do with it. But you can lift a few of the stories out. They don't really affect the overall scheme of the film, especially one of the storylines in particular. But I still enjoyed the heck out of this. This is very well performed. and with what the material that they're given with. And this is pretty well directed. I do have some issues with, again, trimming some fat out. Some characters really just didn't feel as important or as useful as they could have been, I think, or maybe that's just the way things played out. But it did just feel a little excessive. Even the dialogue and the jargon, I understand that they wanted to pay homage to the actual lingo that is used for that economic structure, but it just felt a little excessive. I still like this. I'm still going to go with an 8.4. I do understand why this is being nominated, but there were enough things that held me back from giving it, a 9 or a 10. Anyway, still enjoy this. If you haven't seen The Big Short, go check it out. It still was a good movie. If you have seen it, what do you think about it? Leave a comment below, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. Let me know what you shot, and we'll check you guys next time. Thanks.